Good afternoon, and welcome to our second CRD Connect and Communicate webinar of the spring 2025 semester. My name is Paul McMonagle, and I am the Engineering Instruction Librarian at Penn State University Park. I am moderating this session today along with Elliot Rose, the STEM Librarian at Penn State, who has unfortunately lost their voice today and is unable to verbally moderate as we had originally planned. Therefore, they will be checking mostly on the chat and making sure that everything is running smoothly in that direction. Excuse me. If you haven't already noticed, we will be recording this session, and the link to the recording will be made available on CRD's Connect and Communicate YouTube page. Today's session is titled LGBTQ plus Safe Spaces in Your Library. Our presenter is Fawn Contreras, who is the head of youth services at the Valley Community Library. She has 6 years of library experience and has been on the board of Queer NEPA since 2020. Fawn and her displays have been included in the 2024 Governor's Report for creating inclusive spaces in the library and has been on a virtual roundtable for the Northeast PALA group about how to create safe spaces and be an ally in your library. She had many years of public speaking experience, including multiple TV and newspaper interviews. She has delivered presentations to the PA Sierra Club, spoken at events such as Take Back the Night and Pride in front of large crowds. Keep in mind, for this discussion, you will only need a headset or speakers. We encourage you to ask questions in the chat box at the bottom right throughout the discussion, and we'll attempt to include your questions as appropriate, either during the discussion or more than likely at the end. We'll also do our best to assist participants with technical issues. Please post those issues in the chat box as well. This session is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Library Association College and Research Division's Connect and Communicate series. I'd like to thank the CRD board for supporting this initiative and the other Connect and Communicate Planning Committee members. Please contact any one of us for information about becoming a member. This project is made possible by a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which still existed at the time the grant was given, as administered by the Pennsylvania Department of Education through the Office of the Commonwealth Libraries and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And with that, I'd like to welcome Fawn. The session is all yours.
You, Paul. Hi, I'm Fawn, and this is LGBTQ plus Safe Spaces in Your Library, your guide to books, space, and being an ally. But before we get into that, I do have a exercise for you. This is something that I want you to think about. You do not need to put it in the chat or anything, but in the past year, can you think of a time that you felt unsafe? How many times have you questioned your safety in different situations? For example, at the bar, dealing with somebody that is angry, whether that is at work, at home, or out in a public space. Somebody that is very aggressive with their words or their hand movements or anything. How many times have you felt safe, maybe in outdoor spaces like camping or hiking? Now I want you to think of a time you felt 100% safe, welcome, and included. Somewhere where you felt good and secure. Those places you want to go back to again and again. Let's take going to a bar for an example. So we're going to step outside of the library, and my apologies, all the clip art for bars was very white, which I do try to think of diversity when we're including our images. But imagine you go to a bar and you see people who look like you. At least a couple people. You are treated nicely. You didn't worry about leaving your drink unattended. The food was good. The people were nice, and no one gave you the creeps. You drank, you talked, you danced, i.e., you had a great time. What are the chances that you're going to go back to that place again? They're really high. Now, with this exercise, if you are a white male who is presenting as very cisgendered, you probably feel extremely safe there, and you might have struggled with coming up with times where you didn't feel safe. Whereas if you are a woman, or presenting very feminine, you probably have felt uncomfortable in that bar situation. And if you add intersectionality with that, if you are a woman of color, you've probably felt more uncomfortable more often in that same setting. Or if you are someone who is in the LGBTQ plus community, especially if you are a trans woman of color, going to the bar can be a very unsafe thing to do where you're questioning that. So that is just an exercise so we can start thinking of why safe places are so important, and different times when we're questioning our safety. So now to introduce myself. Hi, I am Fawn Contreras. My pronouns are she, her, zer. I am the head of youth services at the Valley Community Library, and I am a board member with Queer NEPA, which brings me to queer as a term. Not everybody on here might be familiar with that. I will be using queer throughout my presentation. It is an all-inclusive umbrella term. That way, you don't have to remember LGBTQIA+, or then you're leaving out two-spirited individuals, and it's just a very inclusive term to use that shortens down what can become kind of clunky to say, or if you're worried about forgetting letters in the acronym, and yeah. But I do know that many people grew up hearing queer as a negative derogatory term. The queer community has taken back that word and uses it to be empowered and celebrate a wide diversity that is the whole community. So, what is a safe space? A safe space is, as defined in one of my research things, a place or environment in which a person or category of people can feel confident that they will not be exposed to discrimination, criticism, harassment, or any other emotional or physical harm. That should be a space where a person or group of people feels comfortable to be themselves, welcome and included, free from judgment, accepted, and even celebrated. And a safe space can be a single person, a group of people, or a physical place. Why are safe spaces important? Queer people are 4 times more likely to be homeless. 5.6% of queer youth experience bullying. Less than 1.6 trans or gender expansive teens are referred to by their correct pronouns in school. Almost 50% are not referred to by their correct pronouns or name at home. And less than 1 in 7 teens are taught queer history. So imagine if you are constantly being misgendered or called a name that is not yours. You are not going to feel welcomed, celebrated, accepted. That is going to lead to an increased anxiety and depression. Continuing with statistics, these statistics, I do have a resources page at the end, but the majority of them have come from the Trevor Project and from the Human Rights Council. Suicide prevention. Safe spaces are suicide prevention. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in kids ages 10 to 14, and third for ages 15 to 24. queer youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers. 1/3 of queer youth experience parental acceptance. 1/3 experience parental rejection. And 1/3 of the study didn't come out until they were adults. So they didn't feel comfortable at all until they were adults. Teens that experience parental rejection are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide. Having at least one accepting adult in their life significantly lowers the rates of attempted suicide. Having a high social support from family reduces attempted suicide by half. The presence of a trusted adult leads to higher levels of self-esteem. And access to supportive peers and community is suicide prevention. So, safe spaces are important because it shows your support. It builds community, fosters empathy, models positivity, and for you in this presentation, watching this later as a recording, I want you to be that positive, accepting adult in the lives of youth you see, so that you are that one person that is helping somebody else, and moving it beyond just the youth. We should be that positive, accepting person in the lives of everyone we see. Now, why libraries? Almost half of queer youth do not feel safe in their schools. Many of queer youth have changed schools at least once because they felt so unsafe. However, 9 in 10 youth reported feeling safe in their school library or at their library. We are already being seen as safe spaces. Over 80% of teens are searching online for questions about sex education, gender, and sexuality. Actually, if I go back that one, we can talk about the books there. Genderqueer is an amazing graphic novel that is one of the most challenged books every year that ALA puts out their list of most challenged books. It talks about being genderqueer, which is one of the terms in LGBTQIA+, and a teen coming to realize who they are, and it shares a lot about science. And Let's Talk About It is another very often challenged book. It is sex education that is all-inclusive. Both of those graphic novels I highly recommend. I learned a lot as an adult reading them, so I encourage you to check those out. So libraries, thinking about the last slide, libraries are community hubs. We are places where teens are coming to hang out after school. They're meeting their friends here. It's a safe third place for them. We are a community hub that brings together seniors to learn new experiences. We're bringing in kids for story time and parents, and we are a hub of activity. Libraries are educational institutes. We are filling that gap of where people are searching so much for questions that they have about sex education, gender, sexuality, their identities. The books that we have should answer those questions and help with that. We are role models. Oftentimes, people come to us with their questions. And we are community connectors. We're engaging and building partnerships and reaching out into the community and at events. So therefore, we should already be safe spaces. And again, a couple more books on the side. What's Your Pronoun? I just read this fall. It goes through the history of pronouns beyond he and she. And then Strong is a picture book that was really pretty. Right. How can you be a safe space? So your library should already be a safe space because of all those, but you personally can be a safe space. The easiest way is to show your pronouns. You can wear a pin or a name tag and have your pronouns displayed. It shows how people should refer to you. It sets a norm and removes assumptions. It also eases the burden of the trans and non-binary community by saying that, not only people that are in those communities should display their pronouns, but everybody should. Yeah. So if you're able to display your pronouns, include them in your signatures, and another way is to have people introduce themselves. If you are running a program, go around and have everybody introduce themselves and say you are encouraged to share your pronouns if you would like. You can also be a safe space by reading. Read queer books, nonfiction and fiction. I've the last, I want to say 5 years, I've been doing an audit on my reading. And I color code everything. How many books am I reading by authors of color? How many books am I reading that are queer? How many books are nonfiction versus fiction? Apps like Storygraph are really great for this, but I wanted more information, so I color code my reading calendar. And then use those books in your library. Promote queer books with staff picks if you have a staff's picks brochure or a display. If you post what you're currently reading in your website or newsletters or anything like that, include books there and bring them into programs, not just during Pride. Queer Ducks and Other Animals is a book I just recently finished, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, and it was amazing. Highly recommend. All right, how can you be a safe space? Continued. Your personal space. How are you outwardly showing that you are a safe person to come to? What are you wearing? You do not have to wear rainbows all the time. And you do not have to be in the queer community to display a rainbow flag or wear a pin or wear a shirt. Very easily, this is a picture of my office. I was given the All Are Welcome sign. Somebody picked that up and it has a rainbow on it. The Be Kind sticker, I bought that and it shows that I am an ally. Also in my office, which I did not take a picture of my whole office because it is a mess, but I have rainbow flags, I have stickers, I have books, and I have often had teens come in and talk to me and share with me and say, I love this rainbow, I love this sticker or whatever, and I feel so safe and comfortable coming in here and talking to you. That is what I want, that is my goal. So a rainbow or inclusive quote can automatically put someone else at ease. Then model positivity. Practice using different pronouns. If it is not something that you are familiar with, it takes me a while. I enjoy reading books that have they them pronouns, Zer, and I wish I had an audiobook that showed me how to pronounce the E and air. I used to say E and but somebody said it's pronounced air. But practice using different pronouns, especially if you have somebody that comes out to you. But don't wait until you have someone that says, I use these pronouns. to practice using them. Ask others to introduce themselves, and then be sure that you are using their name and the pronouns that they shared with you. Be excited and welcoming to everyone who walks in the library. That does mean that you are being excited to welcome everyone into the library, even if there are people that you can automatically see are not going to be the same safe space that you are. We are libraries, and we are going to put on that smile and, hey, how are you? And be inviting. And hopefully, if they are, I want to say, on the opposite side of a queer safe space, maybe they'll come around through positive experiences. Picture of me in front of our banned books display back during COVID. You can see I have on a shirt that says love, rainbows, and I have on all my rainbow pins, and I read banned books. I am a youth services head of youth services. And I enjoy getting dressed up for any occasion, so I tend to go all out. Now, how can your library be a safe space? Obviously, we can start with your collection. Your collection should reflect the entire community. Everyone that comes in should be able to find a book that they see themselves in. And windows, mirrors, sliding glass doors, we want to go back to those basics. Make sure that we're not just saying we're in a very white rural area, we're only going to have white books that show my community. We want people to explore and learn about people that look different than themselves. So have a diverse collection. If you're able to, do an audit on those diverse book collections. And then bring that collection and that diversity into your displays. And Pride Month is a very easy example of that. Do a Pride Month display. Not everyone can, and we'll get into challenges later. But you can bring those queer books into any and all of your displays. So right now we have appetizing books that are not cookbooks on display. It's in celebration of an upcoming fundraiser that we have. And this is pretty much a second Pride display for me. Almost all of the books on the display are queer in some way. Yeah, and I enjoyed going through and finding them and putting them on display. And then when I put them in here, I was like, there are a lot. So in whatever topic display that you have, look for those queer books. Again, if you're doing a book audit, it is really easy to go back and look at what you've read. But if you're not reading the books if food is not your thing, for example, an easy search, go through and queer books about, and then whatever the display topic is, and pull those and put them in there. In with your collection and display, I would say please do not put rainbow stickers on books, because then you might out somebody who is reading them. We don't want to do that. There are a bunch of queer books that don't have rainbows all over them. So we want to be conscious of that, and we don't want to mark books and make them othered in any way. We want people that maybe they wouldn't go for a queer book anyway to pick up that book off a display and connect and read about a trans character, and maybe they're fostering that empathy that we want and promoting understanding of someone's life who is different than their own. All right, moving on to staff. If you are in the position of hiring, does your staff feel comfortable being who they are? do you have queer staff that are hired? You know, we want to make sure that we're not discriminating in our hiring practices and that your staff feels comfortable to be out and be themselves if that is what they want to do. Then looking at partnerships, I will be talking about a partnership that we have with Queer NEPA here soon. But reach out into your community and foster those partnerships. And then programs. What programs do you have that are queer inclusive? For a while, we were running a Q club for teens here at the library. That fizzled out. I'm thinking that a lot of queer youth are feeling more empowered to be themselves and more accepted, that it wasn't so much a need in my area, at least by the end of the program. But I would encourage you to look and see what you can find. The queer tarot cards, we do have a Library of Things collection and board games. So we bought those. It goes in with that, making sure whatever your collection is in all areas, that it's diverse and inclusive. And then our library is a safe space. So we're really proud to have that sticker that's on the bottom left-hand corner that says safe space. It was given to us by Queer NEPA, Rainbow Alliance, the NEPA Pride Project, and the NEPA Pride Coalition. They were going around looking for businesses that were safe spaces so that they could visually put a sticker in those and let people know that this is a safe space for you to be yourself. You can bring a date, you can present as who you truly are, and you should be comfortable here. All right, challenges. In 2022, PA banned 456 different occasions of book challenges, and Central York School District was responsible for 441 of them. Libraries are under threats of funding cuts and loss of careers. Recently, a library administrator in Susquehanna County was laid off over the fight to keep LGBTQ plus books in the collection. So these are serious things that we do want to think of. Other challenges are a lack of understanding or support, and that sometimes censorship comes from inside. That is, your staff doesn't agree or doesn't understand why we should have these books, or sometimes people are told that they are not allowed to have a pride display because of that threat of funding cuts, or different programs like drag story times or whatever that is that might be too controversial for some places. So it is a thought that we do need to think about what is the risk of the library and how can we navigate those challenges. So, which brings me to overcoming challenges. The best way to navigate challenges is to get ahead of them. Talk to and educate your staff, directors, and board. Show them this presentation. Read those queer books that we showed, and I will have a whole list of more books for you, so that you know why safe spaces are so important. Go back to your book challenge basics. If somebody's coming to you with a challenge, whether it is a display, program that you're hosting, or books themselves, listen, don't argue, know where your challenge forms are, have them fill it out, and then tell your supervisor, and your supervisor will then report it to ALA and handle it from there. Or know if your library runs things a little different, know what those challenge basics are and how you should navigate any challenges that come up. Remember your why. Why are safe spaces so important, and why are you doing this work? Maybe it is because you know someone in the queer community. Maybe it's because you are in the queer community, but you do not have to know someone personally to care. So keep your why close to your heart. And then advocacy is huge. Collect your advocacy stories and positive comments from your community and patrons each time that you're connecting with a patron that is checking out a queer book or coming to your programs. Remember those stories and add that to your why. And then if you can physically write them down, those are advocacies that you can take to your director, your board, or your state legislators and say, this is why libraries are important. This is why libraries are safe spaces. This is why having queer programs is so important. Why keeping our books in the collection is so important. They are being read. They are making these different impacts. Which brings me to getting to share with you some of my personal patient stories. Most recently, I just had someone that said, I've been to libraries that felt cold and unwelcoming, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. That is definitely not what I want anyone coming into my library to feel at all. And they were saying that as we love coming to your library. We were just at this other one and we didn't feel like we belonged. So I was really happy when they were sharing with me that they felt comfortable coming here, that they could be themselves. Another comment is my friends and I love coming here as teens because they loved coming here, past tense. They are now adults, but they said they loved coming here as teens because it was fun, safe, and the staff were just the coolest people. Yay! Does your library offer book recommendations? I am constantly seeing people that are returning your books and going, oh, you read Legends and Lattes. Did you read Bookshops and Bone Dust? And well, if you really like that one, have you read this? And most of the time they are very excited about getting more book recommendations that they can see themselves or their friends in. Does your library offer preferred name, the ability to change names? We use, I should know the name of it, Spark, I think is the interface that we're able to change names. But anyway, when I see someone come up with, they usually have pronoun pins on and their pronouns might not fit the name that they had on the computer, or they were just at one of my programs and introduced themselves as a different name than when I came up to check out a book for them. And I'm like, I see that your name is on here differently than what you just shared with me. Would you like me to change that? And their face when they're like, yes, please, made me feel so good that I was able to help them and make them feel more secure and comfortable being in the library, not having to come up and say, my name is John. Well, you don't look like a John. You just told me that your name's Jane. So that is a really easy thing if you're able to do. It does make a big difference. I've changed the names of a few different people and they're always so happy. And then caregiver education, going back to we are an educational institute, and teaching the adults in the teens' lives, or not even, they don't even have to be caregivers themselves. I have started my time at the library coming to book club, so I knew a lot of book club people, and most of them were older white women that were not exposed to the queer community at all. So then I'm talking about the books that I'm reading, and which is why I had queer in here at the first time, because when I said I'm reading a queer book, I had at least 3 of them gasp that I just said queer. And I'm like, no, you should read this book, read genderqueer, or you're going to learn about this. I just learned, you know, genderqueer is the first time that I saw Zer pronouns, and I fell in love with them. I just read this book that is first year out, about transitioning. I learned a lot about that experience, even though it's not something I've ever gone through. I now feel like I can support any trans friends better. I've had parents and grandparents come up and say, my kid is saying this, and I don't understand what that means. How can I help support them? And I point them to books, either fictional books that I've read that have helped me understand more, or nonfiction books that I think will educate them. Partnerships. I am very fortunate. We have such a strong partnership with Queer NEPA, and that might be because I have been on the board with them and I already do a lot in my non-work time. But it is an amazing partnership that we've had since 2020 here in the library. They partner with us for Pride story times. Last year, instead of doing a Pride story time, we did a all about the rainbows, like the different pride flags, a pride flag program. So we learned about the different flags that you see during Pride and got to design your own, or color one that you fit best with. And they partner with us outside of just queer focused programs, including an upcoming community cleanup. And they've been doing the community cleanups with me since I've started those. So at least 4 years now. And then that partnership in turn, because of our relationship with Queer NEPA, I just presented to the Wilkes University GSA symposium. It's the first year that they had a GSA symposium. But I presented Advocating for Your Freedom to Read, all about challenges, bans, censorship, and how the queer community can advocate for their libraries and what they want to read and see in their community, which was an amazing experience. So there's pictures of my presentation and me reading about that. Queer NEPA is also where we started our Q Club, because they had a queer youth council and we're looking for more programs to do with teens and youth. All right, so I talked a bunch and I've mentioned knowing books and book recommendations. So my next few slides are going to be all about book recommendations, starting at board books and going all the way up through adult fiction. So board books, Whoever You Are is a gender inclusive book about, babies, and we're going to love you no matter whoever you are. You're welcome to be whoever you are. Leslie Newman is an amazing author. I have a couple of her books throughout this. She wrote Mama, Mama, and Me, and Daddy, Papa, and Me. If you have a Father's Day or Mother's Day display, those are very easy to pull and put in those. The pronoun book is a great way for you to read it and practice using those different pronouns, and getting comfortable with saying them out loud and reading them. All Kinds of Families has a staff pick sticker on it. It is beautiful. And it celebrates the wide range of different family formations. Picture books, a couple of my favorites in here. Neither is a non-binary character, but it does not state that it's non-binary. It's implied through the text and everything else. But it's very easy. If you are in the community, you can clearly see that neither was not a bunny or a chick. Neither was both. The hips on the drag queen go swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. That's a ton of fun to read and dance it out. Worm Loves Worm is a classic. Peyton's Pronoun Party is another book that you'll get practice going through and reading different pronouns and using them in sentences. I really like that it uses the pronouns in all three forms. So he, him, his, they, them, theirs, z, zer, zers. Juve nonfiction, I point adults and teens to picture book nonfiction all the time. I love nonfiction picture books. One of my favorites is The Fighting Infantryman. It is the true story of Albert DJ Cashier, a transgender Civil War soldier. Because a lot of times you'll hear in the news, well, this is a new thing. No, drag has been around for thousands of years. Trans and non-binary people have been around. And it's amazing to see the stories on paper. Middle grade books, I highly recommend Rick. It is the same author who wrote George. I like Rick even more than I liked George. Snapdragon, Attack of the Black Rectangles, amazing books. Young adult books, I could talk for hours about young adult queer books. I love how many of them are now being published. So if you're celebrating Poetry Month for April, Some Girls Bind is a novel in verse, and it is not on here, but there's not another love poem. That's another novel in verse. And then when you're doing displays, you really want to look at, and the young adult one is the best way to share this, making sure that you are covering as much as you can in the queer umbrella. So if you write down 2S LGBTQIA+, you want to make sure that you have all those letters represented. So do you have a book about lesbians? These Witches Don't Burn. Do you have books about drag? That's under the plus sign. Don't Be a Drag. Do you have a book about bi characters? I'm pretty sure Hot Dog Girl is bi. I read it. It was fun. It's a very summer book. Do you have ace books? Let's Talk About Love. It is asexual. Looking at history, Last Night at the Telegraph Club is a lesbian book, and they go to a drag club in it. Are you representing the gay community? Fake Dates and Mooncakes, A Little Bit Country, Finding My Elf are all gay. None of the above is an intersex book. So really looking at making sure you're representing everyone. I am now realizing I might not have a book about a trans character in the YA, but I know I do in the adult graphic books, so we'll get there. Again, graphic novels. We have Love is Love the Answer? That is an asexual character. Ash's Cabin is a non-binary book. Prince of the Dressmaker, they did not label it. I would like to say that it is a very drag or gender fluid book. Chef's Kiss was really cute. Cheer Up, Love and Pom Poms is trans. So. And then reading nonfiction, again, making sure that you're going through all the different experiences. Breathe is a new book that was written by the same author who wrote Genderqueer, and it's all about healthy binding, which is really important to have books about that or resources for people who are non-binary or trans or wanting to make sure that they know the healthy way to conceal their chest. Books for educators. I think educators and parents looking to learn more should read all of those past books. They should read the picture books, the picture book nonfiction. They should read YA. But more books. A comic about gender, Fine, was amazing. I highly recommend that. What's Your Pronoun? He, she, they. First Year Out is, again, a book I talked about earlier, about a woman going through a transition, the first year of transitioning. Oh, also Social Justice Parenting was an amazing book that I definitely need to reread again. And now adult fiction. This was it was hard for me to narrow it down to only what I think 11 books are shown on here. And all of these were books that I've read and loved, and I highly recommend them. Second Chances in Newport Stephen is a trans Christmas story that just made me smile because it was amazing seeing how the parents so easily, once they realized what they were doing was hurting their son with old pictures and using the dead name all the time, seeing them change and accept their son. And there are adult fiction books that if you are into horror, Chuck Tingle, Bury Your Gaze, really cover that. If you want history, if you want fantasy, there are queer books in all of the medias. All right, resources, because I realize we are down to 10 minutes and I want to be sure to answer any questions you have. Resources, the Human Rights Campaign, hrc.org. Youth reports for librarians was extremely helpful, but the whole site, if you go on and explore and look for questions, was really helpful. The trevorproject.org is an amazing resource. And then why we use pronouns in our signatures is another easy way to show why including your pronouns is important and easy. We need diverse books. I follow them on Instagram. There are a ton of queer bookstagrammers. So, I guess TikTok is the new thing. I'm kind of old school, I guess. My age is showing. I use Instagram for a lot of my diverse book findings. So, they are a go-to for me. If you are interested in on Instagram, you're also welcome to follow me. I do post on occasion books that I really love on there. And then look at who are your local organizations near you that you can be following, that you can be supporting, that you can be reaching out to. For us, it is Queer NEPA, Rainbow Alliance, the NEPA Pride Coalition. And I believe there is a Pennsylvania State Pride Coalition. So with that, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being here and wanting to be a safe space yourself and wanting to create safe spaces in your libraries. And there's my contact information if you have any questions. And you are welcome to now ask questions if there was anything that came up.